In this video, we'll show how to use interference checking to check for clashes within the model, and we'll also show how to use interference checking with a linked model to help collaborate with other consultants. We'll start by opening the file Interference Check. And this is the Home Studio project that we've been working on for a while, and we're ready to issue the model to other consultants and also to the client. But before we do this, it's always a good idea to check that everything is in order, as it's easy to miss small things, especially when we're changing objects in the model, which may affect their position or location or size. And a good tool to use for this is the interference checking. So from the Collaborate ribbon tab on the Coordinate panel, we can choose Interference Check and then to run an interference check. And now looking at the settings, we can see we have two lists of categories, and they're both from the current project. Rather than just check all of the categories on both sides, as that may lead to a very long list of interferences if there are any issues, we'll be more selective. And I know that I've changed the wall types to be slightly thicker in this project recently, so I'll choose the walls and I'll check those against the stairs, the railings and also the furniture. So I'll select OK, and I can see that we have some interference between the railings and the stairs and also one piece of furniture. So we'll start with the furniture and we'll select Show, and as we only have the 3D view open at the moment, that doesn't show us very much, so we'll choose Show once more. And now it's just going to let us know that it needs to look through the project browser and open up views that are closed. So we'll say OK to continue. And it's highlighted a clash between the bed and the wall just here. And expanding that out, we can see those two objects highlighted in the interference. So I'll check the railings, and we can see that that's highlighted here. But we'll choose Show, and then Show once more, until we get to the right view. And on the first floor plan, I can see that it's this wall here. It's also clashing with the railings, and as I've zoomed in I can see also this wall too. And then selecting the last one here, I'll choose Show once more. We can see that that's also clashing on the second floor as well. So I think the issue here is that we've recently changed the thickness of the walls, and without realising that's just created a small clash between the railings and the stairs and also the bed on this side of the wall. So we need to decide how to resolve this, whether we need to modify the railings or move the position of the wall to suit. And in this instance, we'll move the walls and the bed to try and resolve this. So I'll close this down. And from the second floor residence view, I'll choose the wall and then move this across by a couple of inches so that we clear the railings on this side. And then actually I'll change the layout of the bed completely. So I'll spin this round using the spacebar. And we'll move it against this wall, which will be a better layout for us. Going down to the first floor, we can see that we need to move these walls too. So we'll select it and again just move it across by a couple of inches, and this one too. And that should clear those interferences. But to check, we'll go back to the Collaborate ribbon tab, and then from the Coordinate panel under the Interference Check, we'll choose Show Last Report. And this now lists out the interferences that we found last time. And at the bottom of the view here, we can choose to refresh this report. It will rerun this, and those interferences have now disappeared as we've resolved those by moving the walls. So I choose Close, and we also have a structural model that we can link into this project. And to do this, we'll go to the Insert ribbon tab, and from the Link panel, we'll choose to link Revit. And I'll choose the Home Studio Structure project here. And we'll position this auto by shared coordinates, as we've set those coordinates up with the Structural Engineer. And when we choose Open, we know that this will place it in the correct location. So zooming out, I can now see the grid from the structural model and also the columns. And I'll come and look at the living room south interior elevation, and we can see the structure in the view here as well, seeing the truss supporting the roof. But zooming in, we can also see we have some structure that sits within our roof, and this is acceptable as this is a combined zone where we need to show finishes and insulation, etc. But there's also going to be structure supporting the roof in there too. So we'll run an interference check as we've just brought this in, and this can help us coordinate it and make sure there aren't any interferences that shouldn't be there. So we'll go back to the Collaborate ribbon tab, and once again from the Coordinate panel under Interference Check, we'll choose to run Interference Check. And this time I want to check the curtain wall in, so I'll choose the curtain panels and the curtain wall mullions. And we'll check this against the Home Studio Structure project. and we'll check it against the columns within that project. So we'll choose OK to run the report. We can see that there's quite a few interferences here, and expanding some of these out, we can see that it's interference between the structural column and a quad corner mullion here. So we'll choose this interference and choose to show, and then we can choose show again to cycle through the views we have open until we see the mullion and the column highlighted. And as we zoom into the 3D view here, we can see it's this corner mullion and this column. When we create mullions in Revit, they get split by each of the grid lines within the curtain wall, and hence this vertical corner mullion is made up of many pieces, and that's why we're seeing so many interferences within our report here. So we need to resolve this, so we'll close down the interference report. And I'll go back to the first floor plan. Zooming into the corner, we can now see clearly where the column is overlapping our mullion, and we need to decide how to resolve this. We can choose to ask the structural engineer to move their column slightly, or maybe resize it so it's a little bit smaller if that's possible. We could choose to move the curtain wall to take account for the column, or equally we could place a slightly smaller mullion on the corner here, which seems like the best option to resolve this issue. So to do this, I'll select the curtain wall, and then from the properties palette we'll choose to edit type. And here we can see we have the quad corner mullion specified in the type of curtain wall, so we'll change this from the 7x7 inch to the 5x5 inch. And now when we choose OK, that mullion will be applied to our curtain wall type. And we can see that's now updated, and it looks to have cleared the interference with the column. To make sure, we'll go back to the Collaborate ribbon tab, and under the Coordinate panel on the interference check, we'll choose to show the last report again. And once again we'll choose to refresh. We can see all of those interferences have now disappeared, and we can be sure now that our structural model is not interfering with our curtain walling at any point. So that ends this video, and to recap, in this video we've seen how to use interference checking to check for clashes within the model. We've also seen how to use interference checking with a linked model to help collaborate with other consultants.